Bill from my weekly trips, Saturday and Sundays, to McDonald's, said to me that you could, to me, buy a senior coffee. And I said, well, how old do you have to be? And he said, I don't know, you could do it. So I checked, you have to be 55. Well, I'm 53. And I told Bill that I wouldn't order a senior coffee until I was 55, which is in a year and a half. Perhaps a sense of pride that I'm not that old yet, but Bill said, you could get away with it. But then I realized that I've become part of a club, not just by having breakfast with Bill Saturdays and Sundays at Mickey D's, but there's a number of other people that are there that I've become friendly with. Although I talk more with Bill, occasionally we all get together. And this Saturday, there was actually a number of people at the table. Actually 6 people, we didn't really fit, or 5, sorry. A new fellow came along, his name was Jeff. And yeah, I'm the youngest one in the crowd. I'm not really officially a senior coffee yet. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, interesting and sad and some other adjectives or whatever to describe it. To see what happens to folks, because everybody there is, and there are folks there in their 80s and late 70s and retired and all, and you see what's become of them. Their life is basically spent. And here am I at 53 thinking, well, I'm getting there. My father's recently died, and I watched him, and he used to say to me, you know, when I look in the mirror, I don't believe who I see. There's an old man there. That's not who I feel like I am. And he just went on, never thinking he would die. And I had a hard time with that, but I'm beginning to understand it. Because there are a lot of things I don't see in the mirror, which is sort of the opposite in a way. So I can understand. But the point is the same. You don't see yourself as a certain age or with a certain limit of time left. And watching people that are older than me, but not that much older, is educational and difficult too. Because it's not a very happy picture, really. And certainly this may not be a great slice of life, a great sample, you know, of folks, but maybe it is. I mean, Big Sister said to me, when I was but 19, you're going to have some troubles in life because you're so smart. And she really is very, very smart. Smart and fucked up, but very smart. She said it's going to be hard to relate to people because you're that smart. And she used to pretend to be stupid so people would like her. And it worked. And Bill is very smart, and he pretends not to be so smart and hides his accomplishments. He's quite accomplished, very successful in business, although he's cheap as hell and clips coupons. But at the same time, he's not very good with relationships and had a lot of difficulty with them. And I suppose I have too. And you can kind of trace these things back with Big Sister to her background. And I have to be careful with this because someone, well, her son, is now viewing my channel, and I can't, I've always been careful about what I said, but there's a lot of things that I definitely can't say now. But she went through a lot, and but had this incredible IQ that allowed her to do things that she couldn't otherwise do. But at the same time, it isolated her from people. And I can see that happening with Bill. Because around the table are people that have been less successful than Bill in business, and perhaps in some cases more successful with relationships, but not all cases. But it's funny what happens, because you can look at a person and get to know them over time, and you can see what's going on in their head, because these things reveal themselves. And it's strange, you know, people that had small accomplishments in life, relatively small compared to the big things, can constantly tell stories about these relatively small accomplishments and embellish the rest. And after a while, you get to see that, because the stories repeat, and you get to see the cracks in the story that don't quite make sense, and you pick up on little things. And yet admire people that have been more successful, that latch on to them as heroes, and somehow through that affiliation, they will become something that they weren't in life. That's Nick. Or someone like Jeff, who I just met today, who I don't really like at all, a real snob and a name dropper who apparently, from what the conversation was and what Nick told me for the part I missed, got divorced and his first wife took everything from him. He's an attorney, but he hasn't really ever made a lot of money or been very successful. His second wife is supporting him, and all he really cares about is not us, but what we can do for him. And if we can't do anything for him, he just brushes us off, even though, well, he's not really very competent or capable in his profession. He just is looking for people to use to get him somewhere, to achieve a greater self-esteem, I suppose. He's a bit younger. He's still got a little time to do something with his life. And then there's Jim. Now, Jim I really like. He seems to be a really nice guy, and he's 85, and he's spent his life. He's just a good guy, you know. But so many people aren't. I mean, he's doing his best. He seems very sincere. I've known him for quite some time now. I don't know, 8 months now, probably. But he's really the exception. And circling back to Bill, the thing about Bill that's interesting is, because he's so bright, he sees these things. And he doesn't usually talk to me about them directly. He doesn't like to be direct. So today I was direct, and I started saying, hey, here's how I feel about different people. And he didn't want to be honest about it, but then he kind of verified, yeah, that's the way it is. But he doesn't like to say it, because he's learned to kind of protect himself, because he's suffered a lot in relationships. And yet he has this incredible mind. And it's kind of a funny kind of thing, because he's separate from humanity. He's separate from humanity because, well, except for those people that are very bright, where he has a great time, he doesn't really feel that interested or connected. He's actually bored, or, I don't know, a little bit dysphoric, because there's nothing in it for him. So, what the hell is this all about? Well, it's about me. Thinking, where do I go? You know, I've been reasonably successful at what I want to do. Less so with relationships. I've had some good ones, but, you know, I guess it has to do with what you value, too, because, I mean, I certainly value relationships, some relationships, and this is not about Jen. This is about me and in a more general case. But when I first started out in my adventure in life, I invented a board game. And I got it to go national, but I was advised by someone that told me that this game will never be big because it appeals to intellectuals, and they're a very small minority. And I just kind of blew him off. What bothers me is I learned this fairly early on in the process and just blew him off. And I found out he was right, definitively. And it was a terrible, terrible thing for me to admit that I had turned down his advice. Now, I was in my early 20s when I was doing this, and I was fairly egotistical. But it was so hard for me because I had just blown him off, and he was right, and I was wrong. And it also meant that the kind of games I liked to produce were all intellectual games. Would never have a real market. I could sell them as niche products, but never have a big market. And I guess where I'm going with this is that when the game died, when we decided that it's not worth it, my partner and I was dating someone who I was crazy about, and around the same time our relationship ended. And so these were two things that were very important to me. And when my relationship ended, it was very, very painful. But I remember, and here's the thing, I don't feel guilty for this or anything. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. I was more in pain about the game than her. Now you could say, oh, you're a terrible person, and maybe I am. But that's just the way I was. And I suppose it's something about me. But the game was my baby, and it meant a lot to me. Okay, so I don't really understand all this at a certain level. I mean, you understand yourself and things at one level, and there's other levels that are beneath it, which maybe you guys understand and I don't. I can't go there directly because people are limited. So where am I now? Well, tutoring has gone very well for me. I've made a lot of money. Now I got more money because of my dad dying. Enough money where it doesn't fucking matter what I do as far as the financial end. But I still want to do something before I end up in McDonald's having, very few years left and I'm all done with it. And it's kind of funny because I don't want to have nice things. I don't want to travel. And I don't even know about relationships. I like kind of certain relationships that last a little while and they go away, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand me completely. No one does, but I just kind of watch and, but I'm not going to pretend I understand who I am. And I'm not even sure you can break it down into nicely, finely tuned pieces because maybe people don't work that way, and if you can do that, they're not people. They're cartoon characters or soap opera characters or something like that. But I'm thinking of going national with some videos, and there's no reason to do it financially. And I thought, well, I don't want to do it for free. I want to see if I can make a go of it. And I think I can. And it's kind of weird. That's what you want to do with your life, huh? Don't you want to, I don't know, make more videos about David or do something with charities or all? No, that's what I want to do. It's what I'm good at. I'm good at explaining stuff. I'm really good at explaining stuff. And yet, I look at Bill and I see his life as a very painful thing that he's suffering through. Breakup of his marriage, death of a son, and not really being connected too much with people. I like him. And I hope I don't end up like him.